1160, and our conversation this morning with Summer McGee. Summer Johnson McGee, PH.D., University of New Haven, the Dean of the School of Health Sciences, is brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Summer, good morning. What's it like in New Haven today?
Well, we're doing great here in New Haven. We're preparing to reopen our state and take advantage of some of these changes that we've seen around mask mandates and beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel up here.
Well, that's beautiful. We're hoping that we can get to that point here in Pennsylvania as well. I want to talk to you about vaccines, about the concept of herd immunity, and about wearing masks, which seems to be becoming a point of contention once more. People figuring, I've got both my vaccines, you've got both your vaccines, why am I wearing a mask? So let's start with vaccines as a whole and how the country is doing and what it really means in terms of opening up your state, my state, and others.
Yeah, I think where we are right now is we're beginning to see a bit of a slowdown in terms of new vaccination appointments, and we're also beginning to see that some individuals are not following up to get that second shot. And so those are both things that are a little concerning. If we need to get 70 to 80% of all Americans fully vaccinated, we've still got a long way to go. And so I think that what we've got to do now is find out how to motivate people to get out there. And that's, I think, part of what the CDC is trying to do now by showing people that if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask outdoors or around others who are fully vaccinated. So I think we've still got a lot of work to do, and we need to keep that momentum up to really get to herd immunity.
Those who are not showing up for that second shot, that's particularly puzzling. Why do you think it is?
I think it's in part because it's inconvenient to go back to get that second shot. I think life gets in the way, and especially that we do know that 80% or so of your immunity comes from that first shot, and that second shot is a booster. I think folks might be making the assumption, oh, well, I got that first shot. I've got a big boost of immunity. I don't really need to go back for that second shot. But the fact of the matter is, we do need folks to go back and get that second booster to really get the maximum amount of immunity to protect themselves and others against potentially spreading the virus.
Do you find that there's a particular weariness as well because of the concept of having to get a booster shot later, whether that is actually going to be required or not?
Yeah, I think people have some trepidation about that, right? I think that we haven't quite adjusted to, just like with the flu and other vaccines, we may need to be going on a regular basis and getting those boosters. It was such a lift to get everyone vaccinated in this first round. And so I think people are a little bit concerned, is vaccination going to become a big part of our lives? And it may be if we're going to keep COVID-19 at bay.
COVID-19, of course, has been the dominant story, even over the election from last year, because this is an ongoing thing that people say is just not going to go away, and different people react differently, and that's been the case with the vaccine as well. Many people who have received the full vaccination are saying to themselves and to others, why do I need to wear a mask now? What's your position?
Well, I think what the CDC said is right. I think if you're outdoors or you're around fully vaccinated others, wearing a mask doesn't really seem like something you should have to do. You're not likely to become infected with COVID-19, and there are now studies saying that you're very unlikely to be able to transmit COVID-19 to others, even if you did get exposed to it. So I think this all makes a lot of sense, and I think we need to start moving to these much more common sense, clear recommendations around where you have to wear a mask and where you don't, if we're going to convince people that vaccination is worth it. I think there are many people that still aren't sure about vaccination and don't believe that they'll get COVID. And so we still have to do a lot of work in that area, but I think this is the right thing. It's all heading in the right direction. We
as laymen, obviously, we're not into it as you are, as somebody who can study the data and the epidemiology of all of this. As the different studies have come out and come to their conclusions, and some, frankly, very early, some of those studies and conclusions have been repudiated by subsequent studies. How amazed are you at how quickly all of this has come together, and how much trust should we place in latest data as opposed to data that came out previously?
I think that it is an unbelievable feat that we are a little more than a year into this pandemic, and we already have 3 highly effective vaccines that can protect people against this virus. We've learned a tremendous amount about how effective masking is and what other measures have to be taken in order to protect people against COVID-19. A year and a half ago, I did not expect that we would be here now with people fully vaccinated, going back to work, resuming their lives. I really was much more pessimistic that it was going to take a lot longer. So I think this is all very, very good news, but we have to continue to study. We don't know how long immunity from these vaccines is going to last. And so we have to continue to monitor data closely, continue to do the research, and there's still a tremendous amount to learn about this virus. So we're going to be continuing to talk about this, I think, for many, many years to come.
Summer Johnson McGee is our guest. She is the Dean of the School of Health Sciences at the University of New Haven. As this pandemic has gone on and as we've had so many different changes in our lives and things have changed in such dramatic ways, I'm sure there are things that we're doing now that will continue even after the pandemic is declared to be over. What do you think are some of those things?
I think we're going to continue to see mask wearing, particularly when people aren't feeling well. I hope that we continue to see that people don't go to work anymore when they're not feeling well. I think we all have a better appreciation of how important it is to stay home and to keep yourself healthy and to stay away from others if you're not feeling well. So I think a lot of that's going to change. I think we've also seen the world of work change. I think we all now know we can do things remotely, and going into the office isn't going to be like it was anymore either. So I think on the health and safety front, we're going to see a lot of these practices continue. The importance of keeping your distance and other things are really, I think, going to be here for the long haul.
Pfizer came out yesterday talking about their new pill that would be a therapeutic as opposed to a preventative type of measure. And that looks really helpful. In fact, they say that it's on track to be available by the end of the year, that when you begin to feel symptoms, a pill that you can take right there in your home is going to have the potential to stop the virus in its tracks. How hopeful are you that something like that can develop that quickly as the vaccine did?
I'm very hopeful about that. I think it really is just a matter of time before we do have those effective therapeutics as well as vaccine, and we're going to have a whole arsenal to keep COVID-19 at bay. And I think, the whole world has rallied around this cause, and that's why we're seeing these scientific advances coming so quickly. And
maybe one day soon we'll fix the common cold too, right?
Absolutely.
Well, there's some work to do. Meanwhile, top 5 recommendations or top 3 recommendations you have for people who are running out of patience with this pandemic and the measures. What should we be doing right now?
I think the most important thing is to remember that we are all in this together. Keep your distance, wear your mask when you're out in public around others, and if you haven't been vaccinated yet, get that shot. That's what's really going to change your life and the lives of those that are around you to protect yourselves and others from spreading this virus.
Does the COVID-19 vaccine or some other vaccine that is developed end up being like the flu shot? Come back, get your booster shot every year?
I think it's likely to be that. I think we don't know for sure, but that's where my money is, that we're going to be getting. And they're already developing a combo flu and COVID-19 vaccine. So maybe it is just one shot once a year where we can cover all of our bases at the same time.
How about that? That's tremendous news. Summer Johnson McGee, you've been very informative. We thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160.